I'm Heydi, and this is my story. My life before Jesus was, I don't even know how to explain how it was, because from a young age, I always felt like Jesus was there with me. Even before my mom took me to church or I was introduced to church, I always felt like there was a presence there with me, guiding me and protecting me. I was always praying and talking to God as a child, even though no one had ever told me that He existed or that there was God. My mom was a Catholic, but we never went to church. She never spoke to me about Jesus. So I really was not introduced through her. It was something that I felt in my heart. When we came to the United States, I'm originally from Venezuela. I was 11 years old, and we were struggling because it was just my mom and I. She literally picked me up, took me into this new country that we didn't know anything about, and we were starting a new life, just the two of us. The rest of our family were in Venezuela, including my father. And we were struggling. And my mom would cry, and she didn't know that I knew that she would cry, but I knew that she would cry. And it was a very tough time in our lives. One day we went to the supermarket where we used to live in Queens, and this lady just came up to my mom and said, "God put in my heart to speak to you. He's telling me that you are struggling, and I just want you to know that my husband and I are here, and we are going to help you." And tears just started falling down my mom's eyes. And her name is Ramona, and her husband is Ernesto. And they took us to Highland Church. They invited us to Highland Church, which is a church in Queens, which is a Pentecostal kind of evangelistic church. And we went there, and it was like I was home. I felt like God was there, like He's real, and He's someone who has always been with me, but now I really know what Jesus really is, because there we learned so much about Jesus and God and the love that His people have for other people. And from that moment on, it was like we were starting a new life. Doors just started opening up for us, for my mom. My mom found a new job. We found a new place to live. I was in a school that was good for me, and things just started to work out so well after we started going to church. My mom used to pretty much be an alcoholic at that moment, and one day after going to church for like 3 months, I saw her throwing out all the alcohol and all the cigarettes, and she just devoted her life to Christ. And the pastor did a call, an altar call, and he was calling people who wanted to give their lives to Jesus. And my mom got up, and I got up, and she said to me, "Don't do this just because I'm doing it. You have to feel it in your heart." And I said, "I feel it in my heart, and I know that He has always been with me, and I'm gonna go also give my life to Christ." And we both walked to the altar together, and they prayed over us. And then things just started becoming, I wouldn't say easier, just doors started to open that we never thought would open up for us. I was 11 years old when that happened. Since we accepted Christ in our lives, and I saw the change in my mom, and I kind of really got to know Jesus, because like I said, I was felt that He was in my life, but this time I really knew He was real. Like, it wasn't like an imaginary friend or just someone that I felt was with me, because I am an only child, so it was just usually my mom and I. It just went so much smoothly, and I never looked back. Ever since I was 11 and I made that commitment, I've always walked with Christ. And as I grew older, I always kept my focus on doing what was right, trying to do best by other people, because so many people loved us and helped us that we felt that we needed to do the same. So my mom and I started helping other people that were like in the same boat as us, that would come to our church or that we would meet. And we started telling them about Jesus and what Jesus had done in our lives. And later on, when I went to high school and I met my husband, Andre, he was a believer. He believed in God and he believed in Jesus, but he was part of a ministry in the Catholic Church. He was very devoted to the Catholic Church. And one day I invited him to my church just as an invitation, not trying to convert him or anything like that. And he really felt God's presence there. And he started feeling in his heart that he had to leave his church because he was seeing things that were not agreeing with his beliefs, even from the priest and people that were in leadership in his church. So he decided to come over to my church and become a member of our church. And he also was involved in ministry, and so was I. He used to be in the drama team. We used to do plays. One year he was Joseph, I was Mary, and Julian, who was only 3 or 4 months old, was baby Jesus. And it was amazing. Andre and I were also involved in the translation ministry because our church was very big, more than 5,000 members. And we had a studio, so we would listen to the preaching on headphones, and we would translate for people who were in the church who only spoke Spanish. They would get headphones and listen to the message in Spanish. And I was also involved in the children's ministry. I used to work in the nursery with the kids. So that's been our life pretty much. We continued walking with Jesus. And when we moved here to Glen Cove, it was really hard on us because we didn't know what we were going to do about church, because we were so involved in our church. And for a while we were commuting. For like a year we would just commute, but the commute was a lot on a Sunday, and the services in our church were like 3 hours, because we have like a full choir and dance ministry. It's a lot going on there. And we decided that we needed to find a home church here in Glen Cove. And we were driving one day and we saw Glen Cove Christian Church, and we're like, oh look, let's just try it. They're non-denominational Christians. Let's see how we feel. And we thought we were going to be visiting so many churches, but the first church we visited was Glen Cove Christian Church. And when we came in, we felt so welcome. We felt as if we were family, like we had been there all the time. Pastor Jim was very welcoming, and Ali, I remember, was in the children's ministry, and Diego at that time was only 3 years old, and he was like a little bit noisy upstairs. And I remember with so much love, she just told me, oh, we have a nursery downstairs. He could go downstairs to the nursery. And I went downstairs with him and left him there and came back up. And he loved it, and so did Julian. And I remember Ralph, he was so sweet and so loving. And I just remember feeling like, again, like I was home. And Andre and I looked at each other and we were like, this is where we need to be. This is where Jesus wants us to be. And that's where we have been ever since. Well, talking about Jesus, sometimes I think for a lot of people could be scary because there's so many things going on in our world that sometimes I think people feel scared to give their testimony or to talk about Jesus. I'm the kind of person that when I speak to others about Jesus, I don't do it in a preaching way or in a judgmental way. I believe that you have to do it in love, and I believe that you have to do it with your own testimony. So what I do is I tell people pretty much what Jesus has done for me in my life. And there are people who, in my job, have come to me and said, oh, Heydi, can you please pray for my dad? Or please, Heydi, can you pray for this situation that I'm going through right now with my family? And, you know, for some reason, I see that your prayers work. Like, I see that when you pray for something, it happens. And I see that you're so positive all the time. Even when we are falling apart, I feel like you always have a smile and you always just go on. And I tell them that that's because of who I believe in, and it is someone that is greater than all of us. So when people ask me about Jesus, I just use my own life example to talk about him, and I do it in love. And I think that's the way that you should talk about my Jesus. I'm Heydi, and this is my story.